A client of mine used to ask me every Saturday to pee in a little jar and give it to him. Until one day I got a call from his wife. I had been an escort since I was 18, more or less. When I turned 26, I was hired by a man who told me he came through a recommendation. And that's how we started our relationship. He told me he was married, but he paid very well. He gave me lots of gifts, took care of me, helped me pay my bills. He gave me a car, an apartment, and even a house. Yes, guys, not only did he give me an apartment to live in, but also a house for me to rent out. He said it would be a source of income for me. I went along with the situation. We had been in this relationship for 3 years. It was an arrangement. He knew I had other jobs, and I never failed to do anything for him. Meanwhile, I was saving my money. My plan was that when I had enough steady income, I would leave this life behind. But until then, I was building my future. Out of nowhere, he started asking me for a strange favor. He told me he needed me to do something for him. He would visit me frequently. He said he was married. But honestly, I had no idea what excuses he gave to his wife. According to him, she didn't know anything. That's when the urine jars started. Yes, those little medical test jars. Every Saturday, he would see me and specifically ask for this. Not on other days, only Saturdays. He would ask me to pee in a little jar and hand it to him. At first, I didn't really understand why. I asked him, and he told me it wasn't anything important, just something he needed. At first, I even thought he was taking it for some kind of test, to check if I had something, maybe. But he started asking for it religiously every Saturday. Then I thought, what kind of test does someone need this often? Even though I found it strange, I gave him the jar. And that's how it went, Saturday after Saturday. After that, he would go back home on Sundays, where he stayed with his wife and their 3 kids. He had a lot of money and, apparently, a stable family life. Then one Monday, I got a call. It was his wife, guys. When the phone rang, I answered. And when she told me who she was, I almost fell backward. He had disappeared since Saturday and wasn't answering my messages, which was very strange because he never went that long without talking to me. And then she called me and, well, she started spilling a whole lot of things. You have no idea. After that call from his wife, something inside me started screaming that something was very wrong. She sounded desperate, asking if I knew where he was, saying he hadn't come home since Saturday. He was always so careful, never going this long without responding to me. I tried to calm her down, told her I didn't know anything, but the truth was, I was terrified. Things weren't adding up. Why would he just disappear like that? And more importantly, why had he been asking me for those urine samples every single Saturday? It had never made sense to me, but I avoided thinking about it too much. Now, it felt even more sinister. Then I started connecting the dots. I remembered one time when he visited me and brought a drink, something he had never done before. He said it was a special wine he wanted to share with me. I drank a little, but I felt strange afterward. At the time, I thought it was just exhaustion or stress. But now, thinking back, the feeling was different. My body felt heavy, my mind was foggy. I decided I needed help. I called a friend of mine who works as a nurse and told her about the urine samples. She was horrified and told me that wasn't normal. She advised me to go to the police, at least to report his strange behavior. The next day, I went to the station. I felt ridiculous explaining that a married man paid me to give him urine samples, but the officer who attended me was more understanding than I expected. He asked me some questions and said that, considering his disappearance and my story, it was worth investigating. The police decided to look into it quietly. They went to his house, but there was no sign of him. His wife was completely distraught but allowed them to search the house. That's when one of the officers noticed something odd, a locked door leading to the basement. His wife said she didn't know what was in there, that it was a space where he kept work stuff. When they broke the door open, they found something that chilled everyone to the bone. The basement was practically a makeshift laboratory. There were bottles with strange liquids, syringes, and jars labeled with dates. I recognized some of the same jars I had given him. There were notes scattered everywhere, detailing how certain substances reacted in the body and how long they took to be detected. And the worst part, a photo of me taped to the wall, surrounded by notes. Lines connecting information about my schedule, places I frequented, even details about my family. But what truly made me feel like the ground was disappearing beneath me was a detailed plan laid out.
He was planning to kidnap me.
There were maps with escape routes, instructions on how to keep me sedated without raising suspicion, and even more horrifying, recipes for chemical substances he had been making himself. One of them, according to the police, was a slow-acting poison designed to be tested through urine before it became lethal. He had been slowly poisoning me to study how my body would react and adjust the doses. Finding all this left me in shock. He had been testing how far he could go without getting caught. If the police hadn't found that basement, I can't even imagine what would have happened to me. The officers immediately launched a deeper investigation. They started searching for him, but it was like he had vanished. No trace. No security cameras caught him leaving. His car was still in the garage. His wife was in tears, completely confused. Days later, the police found a car abandoned on a deserted road. It was his. Inside, there were traces of blood, but not enough to suggest he was dead. The trunk was lined with blankets, ropes, and syringes. Then I started getting strange phone calls, unknown numbers that would hang up as soon as I answered. My instincts told me he was still out there, watching me. The police advised me to stay somewhere safe, even offering me protection, but the fear was constant. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. My life had become a nightmare. I was nothing but a piece in his twisted game, an experiment. And the worst part was he was still free. At any moment, he could come for me. The police intensified the search, but it seemed like he had planned everything perfectly. He knew how to disappear. I was constantly looking over my shoulder, expecting to see him at any moment. He turned me into prey, and I will never forget what it feels like to be hunted. After everything that happened, I knew I couldn't stay still. My mind wouldn't stop racing. Every corner of my house felt suffocating, like the walls were closing in on me. Every gift he gave me, the car, the apartment, the house I was renting out, now felt tainted, poisoned by his intentions. Looking at any of it made me feel like he was still around, watching me, waiting for the right moment to strike. I didn't think twice. I decided to sell everything. I didn't want a single thing that came from him. I called a real estate agent and put both the apartment and the house up for sale immediately. The car? I drove it straight to a dealership and sold it for whatever price they offered. I didn't care about the money. I just wanted to cut every tie that connected me to him. While I was getting rid of everything, I couldn't stop thinking. I didn't want to imagine what he could have done to me if the police hadn't found that basement. But the truth is, he was already poisoning me, testing how my body reacted, and that alone was monstrous. Thinking about what could have come next was unbearable. I knew, and now more than ever, that women like me are easy targets. Society sees us as disposable. Who would care if I went missing? Who would come looking for me? He knew that. That's exactly why he chose me. How many stories had I heard of missing women, of bodies found without identification? And how many of those women were escorts or sex workers like me? Women treated like their lives mattered less. That's the truth, no one cares. And that enraged me even more than his twisted plans. It was terrifying to realize he wasn't an exception. How many other men like him are out there? Men with money, with perfect-looking lives, hiding monsters inside. Men who know that no one will look back when a woman like me disappears. I had to leave. Disappear before he came back. Because he was still out there. Somewhere he was waiting, watching. And I wasn't going to give him that chance. Once I sold everything, I moved the money into a new account at a bank I had never used before. I bought bus tickets with cash, leaving no trace. I chose a distant, small town where no one would know me. No friends, no police. No one. I only took the essentials. A few clothes, my documents, and the money. The rest I left behind. I didn't want to carry anything from that life. I wasn't the same person anymore. I couldn't be. During the trip, my mind wouldn't stop spinning. I kept staring out the bus windows, half expecting to see his reflection. Every strange man who boarded made my heart race. I wondered if he was following me, if he had somehow figured out where I was going. but I kept moving. And when I finally arrived at my destination, I felt a strange, incomplete relief. I was far away, but the fear was still inside me. He had destroyed my peace. In this new town, I started over. I got a simple job, something that wouldn't draw attention. I avoided making friends, avoided talking too much. I didn't want anyone to know who I was or where I came from. I constantly changed my route home, paid attention to every detail around me. And still, sometimes I felt like someone was watching me, like eyes were following me. Maybe it was paranoia, or maybe it wasn't. But if he showed up, I wouldn't be the same woman he tried to hunt. Now, I was alert, and more than anything, I was ready to fight for my life. I learned the hard way that I can't trust anyone. And if the world thinks women like me are disposable, then I will be the exception. Because I won't disappear without a fight. Years had passed since that nightmare. I had moved on with my life as best as I could. It wasn't easy. For a long time, I lived constantly looking over my shoulder, jumping at every noise, feeling like every shadow was hiding something. I spent countless nights awake, locked in my home, startled by the slightest sound. But over time, the fear began to fade. Slowly, I started rebuilding myself. I changed cities, routines, everything. I found a stable, simple job, nothing fancy, but honest. I made a few acquaintances, kept relationships light and distant, just enough not to feel completely alone, but never letting anyone get too close. As the years went by, his memory became blurry. I avoided thinking about that time, about what almost happened to me. I convinced myself that all of it was in the past.
Until that day.
I was sitting in my usual cafe, having my morning coffee while absent-mindedly scrolling through my phone. I wasn't even paying much attention to the news until one headline froze me in place. Businessman and wife arrested for attempted kidnapping and poisoning. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. His face was right there. But what truly sent a chill down my spine was seeing his wife beside him. The same woman who had called me years ago, crying, begging for information about her missing husband. Now, she was in handcuffs next to him, wearing a cold, emotionless expression that I had never noticed before. My hands began to shake as I read every word of the article. He had tried to kidnap another woman, but this time, the police discovered that his wife was his accomplice. They had been working together for years. He lured the women in, and she covered for him. They played the perfect couple while secretly destroying lives. A shiver ran down my spine. I had spoken to her. I had felt sorry for her, believed in her desperate voice. It was all part of their game. She knew everything. She had manipulated me.
They had used me.
I sat there, frozen, staring at the screen. And then, suddenly, a wave of relief washed over me. They were in prison. Both of them. Finally. They couldn't hurt me anymore. He would never show up out of nowhere. I would never again have to glance over my shoulder, fearing he was near. I realized I had lived all those years with fear embedded deep inside me, even if I wasn't consciously thinking about them. That constant tension had become part of who I was. And now, for the first time, I felt that weight lifting. I closed my eyes for a moment and took a deep breath. I was free, truly free. But after the relief, the anger hit me. How did I not see it? How did she manage to fool me so easily? Her trembling voice on the phone, her pleas, it had all been part of their plan. She saw me as nothing more than a tool, someone they could use and discard. If the police hadn't found that basement, I might not be here today. My name could have been just another on the long list of missing women that no one searches for. But I was alive, and they were behind bars. That's what mattered. I turned off my phone and looked around. People went on with their routines, unaware of how heavy that news was for me. I smiled faintly. For the first time in years, I felt like I could breathe. I stood up from the table and walked out of the cafe. The sun was shining brightly, and this time, I let the warmth wash over me. I was alive, and finally, safe. After everything I went through, I realized I couldn't just move on without warning other women, especially those who, like me, work as escorts. The truth is, There are many dangerous men out there, especially in the United States, where psychopaths know how to hide behind a mask of normalcy. They have money, influence, and they know exactly how to manipulate. I want to give a sincere warning. Don't trust anyone too easily. It doesn't matter how kind or generous a client may seem. Expensive gifts, sweet words, and easy money are never worth your safety. Never accept drinks or food from clients, and always let someone you trust know where you are and with whom. Danger doesn't always come from men. Sometimes, those who seem to be on our side are part of the game. I was deceived by a woman who seemed desperate, and in the end, she was involved in everything. If something feels strange or uncomfortable, trust your instincts. It could save your life. No one should be treated as disposable. Take care of yourselves.
Protect yourselves.
Because no one else will do it for us.